Today I'm sharing the low-tech item that you just might want to pack if you're planning a self-drive vacation. Thanks so much for joining me here again on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. I am so happy that you have downloaded and tuned in today. Before I tell you this low-tech tip, I just want to remind you, if you visit a place that you heard about on the podcast, be sure to let them know. This helps me to get more great guests on the show that share more terrific Ireland attractions and tips. So go ahead and be a name dropper. Just say, I heard about you on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. So I received a really great comment on one of the articles on Ireland family vacations, and it just had a really good point that I thought was worth sharing. So this is from Jett L. And he said that they watched my podcast before they planned their trip to the Republic and Northern Ireland. Just as a side note, I have a YouTube channel, and some of my episodes are available in video form. So if you like video, hop over to YouTube. You can just search Traveling in Ireland, and you should find it. Their trip took them from Dublin up through Northern Ireland, over into Killybegs and Donegal, and then back to Dublin. They rented the WiFicandy hotspot, and which they used for Google Maps, and their rental car company also upgraded them to a car with sat-nav. And what he says is that they discovered they needed both on several locations. Sometimes the WiFicandy couldn't receive a signal, and sometimes the sat-nav went crazy. And what he says is maybe let your followers know that they might need both navigation systems on their trip. Now, I think Jett makes a really good point here. As we all have learned, technology is great until it isn't. I've been driving and traveling through Ireland for 20 some odd years now. The roads have changed significantly, and obviously technology has grown as well. But the one thing I don't leave home without is a map. And I know that seems old and antiquated, but as Jett said, sat-navs can go crazy. My first experience with a sat-nav, I was traveling, it was my daughters and I, and so I didn't have a navigator. It was still relatively early in my Ireland travels. So while I had a good idea of where I was going, I didn't always know what roads I was going to be taking. So this day we were on a pretty tight schedule. We had a boat to catch, and so I decided to use the sat-nav. We were heading to Dublin, and where were we? We were in County Limerick. And so I put in Dublin, and it came up, and I started driving, and I probably drove half an hour before I realized that it was taking me south toward County Kerry to a record store called Dublin, as opposed to Dublin in County Clare. So sat-navs can go crazy, and they're really only as good as their latest update. So if they haven't been updated in a while, they can cause a little havoc. Also, whether you're using the WiFicandy or you have an international program, there are not towers in every single area of Ireland. Killybegs, which Jett mentioned, is in the far, far southwestern part of County Donegal. It's a very remote area. So you probably aren't getting a signal out there. There are a few other places like that as well. The Inishowen Peninsula in northern Donegal. There are some spots in Kerry that you may not get a signal, some spots in the southeast. So you can't always rely on that technology to get you places. Now, one thing you can do if you are using the map on your phone is download it to go to work offline. And that's something that is relatively easy to do. You just want to do it before you leave home. And then you can utilize that feature offline. Your GPS can still work in some areas where you're not getting data. So that's always an option. But what I do is I just pack this terrific little map. Now, it's called the Collins Handy Road Map, and I first picked it up in 2013. It was just updated in 2023, so with all the new roads in Ireland. But it's so nice and portable. So unlike that big paper map that a lot of car rental companies will give you if you ask, this one doesn't have a billion folds. It literally opens like a little book, and it pinpoints on little sections of Ireland. So on the front cover, it has a picture of Ireland, and each section of Ireland has a color. And it's set up almost accordion style, so you just open to that color, and that's the part of Ireland that you see. It is super easy to carry around because it's only about 8 inches high and 5 inches wide. It's laminated, so it's sturdy. You just close it easily, so there's no hassle with it. So this is what I always pack, because there are still areas of Ireland, even in areas of Ireland, where was I at? I think I was in the mountains in Wicklow this year. And there are places in the Wicklow Mountains, sometimes in the Slieve Blooms, you're not getting a signal there. And I knew kind of where I was going, but I needed to be sure I was going to take the right road. And so I just dug it out, figured out where I was, and got on my way. So it's easy to use. It's super portable. And for people who really like to maybe look at their route the night before and kind of have it mapped out, really nice because it's laminated. So if you take a dry erase marker along with you, you can kind of draw and make little notes on the map of your route and erase them the next day. So it is super, super handy and great to have along just in case your technology doesn't work everywhere you go. Now, is this a necessity? Of course not. You're going to be able to get a map from your car rental company, and you can very easily utilize that. But for me, at under $10 to purchase it, I think it's just a super nice thing to have along with you and to utilize in case you need it. You can get a look at this map, get a few more tips, and see what I'm talking about at IrelandFamilyVacations.com/map, or just click the link in your show notes to go directly to that page on my website. Do you have an Ireland travel question? Or maybe you learned something while you were there that you think is worth sharing. I would love to hear it. You can email your questions or comments to Jody at IrelandFamilyVacations.com and write podcast in the subject line. Or message me on Instagram or Facebook at Ireland Family Vacations. And don't forget to let me know how I can give you a shout out for sending that in. If you enjoy the podcast, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you can't leave a review on your podcast app, you can leave a review for me at Ireland Family Vacations Facebook page, or if you prefer Instagram, you can take a screenshot of the podcast, pop it into your Instagram stories, tag me at Ireland Family Vacations, and just say something nice. Your reviews make my podcast more visible, and I can help more people, so thank you for doing that for me. I want to thank you so much for listening. Slán go fóill.